Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so we're talking about the LA Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Two teams that are in very different places right now. The Milwaukee Bucks are at 15-5 at the top of the Eastern Conference, and if I'm not mistaken, the top of the entire league. They're just simply the cream of the crop right now, playing some really solid basketball, even though their shooting in the last game against the Knicks left a whole lot to be desired, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Los Angeles Lakers, what is our record? I think it's somewhere around 7-12, but to be honest with you, I do not really know. I think it's 7-12. I don't know. But point is we're not a very good team, but we are a team that's on the uptick as it pertains to us dropping a million games to start the season and then slowly but surely finding some good and easy wins against some lesser teams in this league. Well, now we get a chance to get really tested just like we were at the beginning of the season. And like the beginning of the season, we kind of have some continuity. Because, of course, at the beginning, you don't really have any of that with a brand new coach and some new players as well. So as we find ourselves in this position, we are coming off of a win against the Portland Trailblazers where we had really, really fantastic efficiency from LeBron James and Austin Reeves. Anthony Davis chipped in very well on both sides of the floor, and we were able to get him the ball in the second half. And just overall, we were able to kind of lean on size. Had a few guys that weren't able to play, which kind of shuffled up our lineup a little bit. And I think it actually left us in a position to be a bit better defensively than we had been. So this is the situation. The two players that were missing in that game were Troy Brown and Lonnie Walker with sore left feet. I don't know if they were purposeful scratches since they both had the same injury. It's kind of strange how that goes sometimes, but nevertheless, we will have them fresh for this road trip at some point. I'm sure they will be back when they're healed. They are healed up, so I hope that's tonight. But we will see. I did not see them on the injury report, but it's too early anyway. It's only 6 something in the morning here. So yeah, the game is at Fiserv Forum at 4:30 Pacific time. I would believe that would be 7:30 Eastern in Milwaukee. And of course, when you're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, you're talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the greatest players of all time, simply put. A player who shot 2 of 8 from behind the arc in the game against the New York Knicks. If Giannis is going to shoot like that, he's going to give us a chance. You know, what I saw from the Milwaukee Bucks in the stat sheet is that they shot 28% from behind the arc. Now, that's something that we expect from ourselves sometimes when we shoot too much, but we've turned into a much more disciplined three-point shooting team. And I don't expect us to shoot in that percentage at all based on the fact that we know better. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't translate to us losing games when other teams shoot crazy amount of threes and just happen to hit more than we do. So we have to keep our perimeter defense intact. We are far too prone to leave three-point shooters open, and they have designated three-point shooters on this roster. Pat Connaughton is a guy who can hit the three, even though he hasn't shot very well lately. He's in shape. He's on the floor. And that is a player who really filled in very well for them in the NBA Finals, particularly in the closeout game. I won't soon forget it. That is a proven NBA Finals champion, and we're going to have to keep an eye on him when he's healthy. Obviously, Grayson Allen is another guy you got to keep an eye on. Grayson Allen is somebody who you know can hit three-point shots, who you know is going to continue to get better in this league in that role. And, even though he's had some issues in the past with some plays that we've considered dirty and things of that nature, he's been on his best behavior, and he's been a good Buck lately, and we continue to respect that he can really light it up for that team and kind of be a spark off of the bench for them at all times. So he's one of the main people you have to keep an eye on from behind the arc, and if we leave him open, he will shoot us down. Bobby Portis is another player that concerns me a great deal on this Milwaukee Buck team. They have a lot of go-to guys, and he is just yet another one of them. He can very easily drop a double-double on your head, hit all his shots, and pull down a bunch of boards without any concerns. So this is somebody who's very dangerous at all times. And of course, if you're talking about this team, you're going to continue to move on down the line. Jrue Holiday, one of the great two-way players in this league, one of the premier defensive point guards that come to mind. And he's somebody who's also very capable of scoring the ball from behind the arc. So yet again, someone that if you don't keep a very active body on him and match up properly against him, it's going to be problems. And you know he's going to force turnovers, so we can't get frustrated in that regard. This team did not turn the ball over very much against the Knicks. Only 6 turnovers in that situation. So this is a Milwaukee team that we're going to have to force the issue against, and we're going to have to take advantage of what they give us. If they're going to shoot poorly from behind the arc, consider that your opportunity at receiving the ball, because turnovers aren't going to come very often, so you better rebound. And that's another thing. They rebound a lot better than us, even though against the Knicks, they got outboarded like crazy. From what I understand, Giannis and Brook Lopez did not have a good game against Robinson on the boards. The Knicks, Robinson, he had a really, really big game from what I understand. So that tells me that they're going to take that personally and try to take it out on us on the board. So you had better be ready, Los Angeles Lakers, with size for that. Thomas Bryant, Wenyen Gabriel, Anthony Davis, obviously, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. We need all of those guys. Austin Reeves, they must put an emphasis on crashing the glass like never before. What I'm encouraged by is the fact that this team tends to be very awake for teams that they have circled on their, calendar. Games that they know they want to show out in, they tend to be awake for. And I hope that translates today. Now, I know we've lost to a lot of bad teams early in the season, but as I said, that had to do with a lot of continuity issues. Players were missing. There was a lot of stuff that is not in place right now that should make for us to be a better team. And so that's what I expect. I expect the Los Angeles Lakers to put up a good fight against the Bucks. And there are going to be some things to pay attention to see if they can pull it off. One thing we definitely need to keep an eye on is Chris Middleton, who's going to be making his season debut tonight. Now, the thing about Chris Middleton is one would expect that his conditioning would be way behind what it should be. And judging from the fact that this is a contending team, you don't expect for them to rush him back into the lineup with 30 minutes and just expect him to go out there and shoot 20 shots. I expect for them to play him sparingly. I expect him to probably come off the bench. And I don't really expect him to be a factor in this game based on those things. They do have other players they can go to for production. So I don't expect that they're going to let him get in the rhythm to the expense of their system and what they're doing tonight, especially with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the floor. I don't see them turning to Chris Middleton for anything other than just a few shots here and there. But if we're going to be the type of team that leaves him open and he sees 1 or 2 fall, it could be the difference. So we had better be very, very, very aware that is still Chris Middleton. Albeit fresh off injury, Chris Middleton is still Chris Middleton. So that's very important. Don't be surprised if he has a great game. Don't be surprised if he barely plays at all. Any of those outcomes I can see. And the thing about it is, this is why it becomes a situation where you just have to see LeBron James and Anthony Davis really shine tonight and play team basketball in the balance. I think that's what needs to happen. You have to have a balance of supreme superstar togetherness, because we need AD and Bron to play off each other tonight more than ever. I think the 2-man game for those two is our bread and butter, and I don't think that we go to it enough. But when you're going up against the elite cream of the crop, that's pretty much what you should be trying to make happen for yourself. You want the 2 best players you have playing off one another, making plays for one another, and taking it to Giannis. Because if you're not approaching the game that way and you think the role players are going to be the difference in this game, Giannis is going to outclass us, and we're going to be sent home early. The game's going to be over by the third quarter. We have got to put an emphasis on AD and Bron today, and it's going to be on Bron to get AD involved specifically in the second half. Our best bet tonight is anybody's best bet against that team. You got to try to do your best to get Giannis off the floor in foul trouble. It's sort of like Shaquille O'Neal, man. If he catches the ball in certain positions, it's just 2 points and a foul. He's going to draw the contact, so it doesn't matter what you're doing. The call's coming his way. I expect him to be at the line probably 15, 20 times tonight. And I'm not exaggerating at all. He should probably walk out of there with more than 42 points. If we're going to beat him, it's going to be because we leaned heavily on Anthony Davis, and he pretty much did the same thing. It's the only chance we got. We need Anthony Davis or LeBron James, if he's going to be efficiency king, to come out and meet Giannis at the altar. This can't be about, with all due respect, I don't see this game being about role players. Now, I will say games are a game is a game. And what that means is anything could happen. A guy rolls an ankle and suddenly it could be about Pat Connaughton. Suddenly it could be about Lonnie Walker. Like, a game can be about anything, to be honest with you. But if you play this game 100 times, the best bet the Lakers have of winning is running things through LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You're not looking for Austin Reeves to be the star tonight. But with that being said, I think he has very quickly slipped into being someone we consider to be maybe our fourth most important player behind LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. I truly believe that he has stepped into his own at this point. And I do not want him to take steps backwards in his aggression. I think the most important thing for him is to account for scoring. As we've mentioned many times, he has to both assist and score. And that's what will encompass what it is that he can do. He is a pass-first, scoring big point guard who I know, as he continues to work on his conditioning, will be able to do more defensively than he's able to do right now. And he is a good defensive player who's going to become a very good defensive player as his conditioning continues to increase. So I want us to keep him on the floor as much as it makes sense to do so. Don't have him trying to guard people that are too fast for him to keep up with. Just like I said, in regards to other players, we want to keep them in positions to do things that they can succeed in doing. And I think it's going to be ever so important that we continue to empower him to play make. We should look at him as one of our regular playmakers. We should just think of him as a playmaker for our team. Bron, Westbrook, and Reeves. Simply put, we're looking for them to make plays for others. I think it's very important that Bron look to get more than 5 assists. Those games where we had those 3 assists from him, I don't think that we're ever going to really have a whole lot of success, whether he's shooting well or not, if he's only looking to assist the ball but so much. We really, really need guys to continue to learn how to play around LeBron. And him being on fire is a great thing for that particular game, but for games going forward, when he's not available and when he's not hot, we're going to need those guys to have tendencies that work around him. And that's only going to come if he's engaged with helping them succeed in scoring the basketball. He can always get his shot. But if other guys are improving around him, that overall makes his team better. And with the team having the deficiencies and talent that we have, that's the only thing we really should be thinking about, making other guys better. It's almost more important than winning basketball games for the franchise, to be honest with you. And it should translate to us winning anyway, so it's not like we have to forego one for the other. We must make sure that guys score the ball. And it's going to be on Bron to assure that he assists those guys. And also, empower guys to assist LeBron. There's no reason, for LeBron James to have to not take the shots that he wants to take. We just want other players engaged in those plays so that they can benefit from him scoring. If he's the only person dribbling the ball and going into his motions for scoring, nobody else is engaged, and that's unnecessary. Plus, I think he's actually a better shooter if he's the recipient of a pass. I think he's a little better in catch and shoot situations. So I think LeBron James should empower others to make 2 or 3 passes before he even looks to take shots. Even when it doesn't necessarily seem necessary, we should do it for practice in real time against real good teams. So that's what I think, man. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't take each and every game on this road trip and look at it as an elaborate test rather than anything else, because there are certain matchups like tonight where you can play your very best and still get whooped by a superstar like Giannis Antetokounmpo. So you don't really care that you don't win if what you've done is all good in terms of all of your tendencies. If you didn't turn the ball over, if you rebound well, if you shot a good disciplined 3-point shot, if you take care of the things that matter, and it still doesn't translate into the win, we will pretend it is a win, because that's ultimately what it's about for us. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for guys to play well, man. Depending on who's going to be available, it's all about matchups. So coach is going to be the determining factor. I'm not going to be blaming players very much if I see guys like Dennis Schroeder trying to match up against bigger players and getting shot over. That's not bad defense. That's bad strategy. And we got to know the difference. So it's on Darvin Ham. This is your old team. Fiserv Forum, it's a place you want an NBA championship at. You know that coaching staff better than you know the coaching staff with you right now. So that means you know how to match up against the Milwaukee Bucks. We've talked about this. This is a team that forces you into jump shots. Kenny for real mentioned this in one of his videos about 2 weeks ago, and we kept this idea in our heads. This team forces you into shooting mid-range jumpers. That's what they do. They do that. They don't want you to shoot the three, and they don't particularly want you in their paint, but they will open up the perimeter inside the arc. If we take advantage of that space, we will get open shots. It's understood. That's what they choose to give up. So that's something that we understand, and we will be looking for that tonight. And that's something you also need to guard against as well. A guy like Chris Middleton, he can shoot the three, but he's also a fantastic mid-range shooter, and it stands to reason for a guy like that to come back in to try to look for closer shots in trying to find his rhythm. So I look for guys like him and Jrue Holiday. Some of them are going to be attacking from the mid-range tonight, and I expect to see it. Jevon Carter. We must pay attention to Jevon Carter. He's a guy who I mentioned a couple of weeks ago as well as somebody who's starting to really, really make a name for himself. Now, his game is defensive. We know that. But about 3 weeks ago, we had a game where he really put up a lot of assists and a big-time scoring game as well. So he's very capable of having an explosive game. That's something that we definitely need to be aware of. He's in shape. He's in their starting lineup. He plays defense. He can stretch the floor, and he can make plays for others. So as far as I can tell, that's an ascending basketball player who we need to keep circled on the drawing board, because if we do not guard him, he could definitely hurt us. And of course, Brook Lopez, our very own Brook Lopez, somebody we had on our team, shot the ball extremely well for us, and then we let him go inexplicably. Yet another one of those decisions that I scratch my head about because I don't know why he's not still a Laker. But he's been a fantastic Buck. Won an NBA championship with them, and is now shooting the ball even better than he had before. I can argue he's probably the second best three-point shooting center in all of basketball behind Karl Anthony Towns. And he's somebody that I expect to continue to stretch the floor. He did not have his best game in the last game against the Knicks. As we said, Mitchell Robinson took advantage of a lot of what he was able to out there against him. I think he's going to take that personally, and I expect him to play better tonight. Now, we know Brook Lopez can't rebound the ball very well. He doesn't position himself as a good rebounder. We complained a lot about it. It was the only real problem I had with him. He just doesn't rebound well. So that's something I'm going to be looking for Anthony Davis to try to take advantage of if possible. Obviously, you're going to be dealing with Giannis, so it's not like he's down there by himself. But for a big guy, super talented all-star player, that's the one thing that we know he doesn't do well. So we got to try to put people on him that could try to take away those boards, and hopefully we have a good night, because at the end of the day, he's going to rebound the ball just like Anthony Davis. Even though that's not his game, he's huge. So he's going to get boards regardless, second chance points, stuff like that. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, all types of rebounding must be a focus. As we know, this is a much better defensive rebounding team than us, offensive rebounding team than us, etc. They just have the bodies. But we too have the bodies if we use them. Thomas Bryant, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, as I said, Austin Reeves, these guys all look to rebound the ball regularly. Tonight, they're going to have to be physical. Tonight, they're going to have to accept the fact they're going to take punishment. This is a game you're going to walk away hurt. Hopefully not injured, but definitely hurt, because Giannis is going to dish out punishment. Lopez is dishing out punishment. And you best believe Bobby Portis is going to dish out some punishment. So we just going to have to keep fresh bodies on the floor against those guys and try to stay out of foul trouble. And so this is the beginning of a long road trip, man. So guys pacing themselves, paying attention to their bodies, taking care of the things that matter, staying hydrated, all the little stuff is very, very important at the beginning of a road trip, because you're going to be on a lot of flights. You're going to be in a lot of different hotel rooms and all the different stuff that comes with that. It's going to be a very long month for this team. So health is everything. Fresh bodies is everything. And I'm very curious to see, just how guys progress as a whole in terms of the chemistry. Road trips like this can either bring you together or tear you apart. So I'm looking forward to it bringing this team together. We already know we're not favored to win some of these games. So it's only common sense that we don't hang our heads when we don't win. And most importantly, you don't overthink a win if you get lucky and a team is cold and you haven't done the things you should have did. Otherwise, you got to play your tendencies as your measuring stick, not these wins and losses. I cannot stress it enough. Because as long as we're getting better at things we're going to get better at, this schedule softens up after this long road trip, and we will be able to make up some of those games with the easier schedule on the tail end of the schedule. So that's why I don't want us to worry about that. Some of these games we're just not going to win, and it's okay. But it's not okay to not play well. It's not okay to give up, and that's what I'm hopeful the Lakers don't do. If we find ourselves down by 17, did the Pacers give up when they were down by 17? Absolutely not, and neither should we. We should come back and work our tendencies. Every game's a test in this road trip. Every game's a test. We're going to see teams that are going to bring about certain thoughts in players' heads, and we're going to have to rally around them to help them get through that. Russell Westbrook's going back to Washington. Obviously, Coach Ham is headed back to Milwaukee. LeBron James is headed back to Cleveland. It's going to be a lot of reunions, and it's going to be a lot to think about. So I think this team should keep their focus and not get too high or too low about anything at all. But what I don't want to see, what I absolutely do not want to see, is no blowouts, man. I know it's okay to lose by 15 or 20 to the Bucks, but you shouldn't look like you lost by 15 or 20 to the Bucks. If that makes any sense. Put effort up there, make them sweat, get people in foul trouble, and keep your head with the referees, because you're not at home, and they're definitely going to look to favor the home crowd in a lot of these games. We know that. We're not getting the calls against Giannis a lot of the time. We know that. You might not get the calls against Donovan Mitchell. We saw how many times he got to the free throw line. You know what I mean? Even though we'll see them in a couple days. The point is, in the East, you're not home. This is not Crypto.com arena, and we're gonna have to accept the fact that it's gonna be a hostile environment in some of these crowds. They're gonna be booing, they're gonna be saying whatever, they're gonna do whatever, but our team needs to stay together, and that's gonna get us through it. And last but not least, we need to also acknowledge that a lot of these teams are gonna see LeBron, and they're looking at this as one of the last times they're gonna see LeBron. So I expect to see a lot of support too. Some of these arenas gonna look like Laker arenas. That's gonna be a good feeling. So let's put on the show. I want to see us lean on Max Christie as he continues to try to get himself back into game shape. I think his overall size and defensive ability helps us. I looked at what he was down there doing. He dang near missed all of his shots, but if you look at his plus minus, he was a +8 if I'm not mistaken. And that's the type of thing that you want to look for. If a guy's missing all his shots and is still producing positively, that means when he's making all his shots, he's really producing positively. And that's the type of thing I'm looking at from Max Christie. He profiles as a shooter, but we know that three-point shot comes and goes. He bricked it a lot in that last game, but he did hit a bank shot that was pretty cool. I think giving him opportunities to play will pay dividends for our team. I really do. We got to continue to use him in rotation. Patrick Beverley, we talked a lot about. I expect for us to continue to try to, let me not put negative thoughts out there. I want to see the Lakers use him correctly, and I don't think that we have. I think we've been trying to force him into the starting lineup to be something that he's not, as we've talked about in the previous video last night. What I want to see us do is get away from that. I want to see us put Austin Reeves in the starting lineup and let him be that point guard. Of course, bringing Russell Westbrook off the bench is strictly for fit purposes. We would obviously go to him with respect, but we know better than to put him in that starting lineup. So we're just going to keep it where we're going, if you ask me. But Austin Reeves should be the starting point guard with the intent of bringing Russell Westbrook in at the same time we always do, in that same rhythm with good minutes. And I think that makes us the best team we can be. Continue to empower him to be himself. Obviously, he embarrassed us against the Pacers a little bit, but he also played very well against the Pacers a little bit. I thought we benched him a little bit in the last game, even though he hit 2 buzzer shots at the end of the second and third quarter that were spectacular. So he contributed to his team despite missing 10 shots, and most importantly, he didn't have any turnovers. So we love that about Russell's game, and we just want to see him continue to look to be efficient and to not give up on defensive sides on the defensive side of the ball. He tends to lose his focus. He tends to leave guys open. He tends to be the breakdown, and that just needs to stop. We need to have the coaches work with him, and he needs to be intent on trying not to be a defensive liability from a schematic standpoint. And if we can get that under control, we'll be a lot better team for having him on the floor. So that's what we need to do. Him, Dennis Schroeder, same thing. They got to get better at thinking defense, especially when things are not specifically catered to them having the assignments. Specifically, Westbrook, we talked about that as well. When he has something specific to do on the defensive end, he stays engaged. When he doesn't, he tends to lose focus. He needs to kind of reel that in and give us that focus the whole time. What else, man? Troy Brown, we talked a lot about his struggles. I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot from him to start this game, but I do think his size would be very helpful against the Milwaukee Buck team. If he were playing at his best, he could certainly help us. But him at his worst, it's just a guy running around not really helping. So it's going to be on us to continue to work with him, and coaches continue to work with him to continue to get healthy and continue to work on whatever it is he has to work on, because we're leaning on him too much and he's not giving us enough. So I think we've kind of gotten away from him, kind of leaning on Winion a little more, bringing Thomas back, and obviously Dennis Schroeder back's kind of shuffled the lineup to get those minutes away from him. But I do believe that Troy Brown is somebody with size, and playing defense can really help us, especially since he has a mid-range shot that he likes to take. I think could be effective tonight if it fell. So, this is one of those games where you're like, look, when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they have key players that they can lean on all night long. They don't really need to have a bench. Their bench is solid. You know what I mean? They have a great player like Bobby Porter's coming off of it, and you'd expect Middleton to be coming off that bench tonight. Pat Connaughton as well. Jordan Nwora. You know what I mean? They got guys that they can go to. Marshawn Beauchamp, I think, is out, but that's a very talented player as well that's normally in their rotation as a rookie. So it's like, it's not the end of the world if you lose to the Bucks, but it is the end of the world if you only rebound 38 times. You know what I mean? Only get 38 boards, rather. It's a fail if you shoot under 26% from three. It is a fail if you shoot under 47% from the field. I mean, these are the type of things. It is a fail if you let them outboard you by 20. It is a fail if you give up over 15 offensive rebounds. Like, there's certain things I'm looking for us not to do. And that's really what it's about. Shoot well from the free throw line. Continue to get to the free throw line and force the issue. Look to connect on your chippies when going to the line looking for calls. These are the type of things that are the difference between winning and losing against a good team. Russell Westbrook, you got to look to finish every layup, bro. I don't care if they give you the call or not. If you're not darting to the lane with the intention of getting an and one, don't dart at all. Straight up, find another way to work the ball and get a better way of looking at the possession, because they're not calling your drives, bro. At some point in time, we gotta stop saying they're not giving me the call and start strategizing the fact that they don't give us the call. You see what I'm saying? There's far too many times these last 6-7 games, dang near, where I've seen Russell Westbrook drive at the rim, fall all over the floor, miss the layup, be out of position in the transition defensive situation because they didn't call it. And it's like, brother, if you're not going to make the layup, it's turning into a transition bucket. They're not going to call it. So it's up to a coach, it's up to Westbrook to smarten up and either dunk those damn balls or don't do that, bro. Like, it's almost as bad as shooting a bad 3-point shot in a way, because it's just not connecting, man. And he's out of transition defensive plays. They just end up with 4 on 5 runs every single time. It kills us. So he has got to either connect on them plays or find a way to strategize away from that. You know what I mean? Little things. LeBron James is another thing I look at. You know, he picks up his dribble sometimes unnecessarily. Move the ball around, brother. If you got to pound it 4 times and you see a double team coming, get that thing out of your hands, man. Don't let them crowd you. Because what ends up happening is our guys don't know how to run around him. They don't know how to cut to the basket and make themselves available. So he ends up kind of just picking up his dribble and getting kind of like put into a jump ball situation, and it's unnecessary. He's going to have to just work the ball around a bit more so other guys can be engaged, and they're going to have to do a much better job for when they find themselves in that situation of being available to catch a basketball. Cut, do something, make yourself available, come to the block, get him out of that situation. And so that's what I want to see the Lakers do a better job of. And one thing that would remedy that is to get away from him entirely and go to Anthony Davis a bit more, which always makes sense to me. You see how easy he is at scoring the ball. You see how easily he draws fouls. That's the key to it all. Unlike Russell Westbrook, he gets his calls. Unlike LeBron James, AD gets his calls. So we need to get him the ball and make those possessions about him so that we're more likely to get to the line. Because he's getting to the line 16, 17 times when we run possessions through him. As to where Bron's not getting his calls and we see Russ ain't getting his calls, you got to strategize with that in mind. What's the best way to ensure that we get 2 points out of this possession? Who's more likely to get the call? AD. So run things through him. That's another reason to do it. And so it's like, that's why you got to look at Bron and say, bro, it's not just about you know what I mean? And it's not just about taking the crown from you and making it about AD. No, this is about strategizing the best way for these 15 players to win games. And in my mind, this is how we do it. We got to go through AD because he gives us the best opportunity to get 2 points or 3 points out of any possession we're in. He's going to get the calls. So that's what we need to do, man. Feed AD tonight. If AD is 30 point, 18 rebound AD, we got a real chance of beating Giannis tonight, especially if he's going to shoot poorly from behind the arc. You know what I mean? And if they're not going to take the rebounding side of the ball more seriously than they did against the Knicks, even though they rebounded 52 times against the Knicks, if they're going to allow for 64 rebounds as a difference, that's something we can definitely take a look at and say, okay, maybe there will be opportunities for us to rebound the ball against this team. So we got to do that, man. We got to use size tonight. Do not do the small ball lineup. Do not, lean on cold hands. If a guy's an 0 for, go for. See to it he doesn't have a whole lot of minutes. This is the type of night where you want to treat this like an NBA Finals game. This is your championship game, because if you can match up against this team and win this game, you definitely know you have a chance of winning games you have no business winning. Simply put, you walk into Milwaukee, you beat Giannis with Middleton coming back, you know you've turned the corner. And so I don't know that I expect that to happen, but I do want to walk away feeling like it could have if it doesn't. And that's what it's about, man. I'm confident in this team in a sense that if they're playing together and intent on guarding, they can beat people. Especially if we have Patrick Beverley back in regular rotation. Unfortunately, that's bad for our offense, but it definitely helps our defense. So he's going to have to make shots. And we're going to have to use him more properly. So that's what I want to see us not do, is have him start, get him out there, trying to get him to hit that corner 3-point shot. He bricks 0 for 3, and then we get away from him. That's just not, no. We need to start it, as I said, Austin Reaves, and then use him for all that stuff that you're asking Patrick Beverley to do. And then when Patrick Beverley, is in need, we call him for defensive players. If for some reason we need a defensive stop or something, that is what we're calling for, is what I'm trying to say. So that's it. Other than that, no. Stop asking him to be your starting point guard. It's absurd. So that's what I got to say, man. Wenyen Gabriel needs a lot of minutes. I've been telling y'all he's probably our 5th best player, maybe 6th best player. I don't doubt that I'm being vindicated in saying that. You were better with him on the floor in just about every way, shape, and form. I don't want us to go to him too much and wear him down and get him hurt. So I think the coach is doing it the right way. But we're going to have to use him. We can't get it. We cannot function properly without him. Just letting y'all know that right now. It's that real. So that's what I got to say. Hopefully Lonnie Walker can get back out there. Him having a big game tonight will go a long way in beating this dang team, man. He go for 30 tonight, we got a real chance. But the problem is, in him going for 30, you don't want him shooting too much, taking plays away from AD and Bron and stuff like that. So, got to find the balance. Some other stuff I want to say. Thomas Bryant must be used. I can't stress it enough. If you're not going to match up against Brook Lopez, you might as well not even suit up. Don't suit up if you're not going to send out there some size. Them 4-guard lineups in AD, 4-guard lineups in Bron, you're just asking to get blown out. There's no chance we're going to have any success against this massive lineup without absolutely matching up, period. So that's what I'm looking at, man. I'm super excited about this game. You know what I mean? I'm upbeat. It's hard to say I expect to win, but I want to upset this team. I would love to win. I'll put it like that. I'm not sitting up here expecting to get blown out at all. So I hope the team is looking to guard the perimeter tonight. Transition defense is obviously important. You know what I mean? If you don't match up, you lose, and Giannis is going to get his. So the intent is to get him off the floor, draw fouls, get AD on him, and understand that the opposite is going to be true. They're going to do everything they can to get AD in foul trouble. They're going to do everything they can to take it straight at AD early. I expect Giannis to try to get him in foul trouble on the first damn play. He's going to try to dunk the ball and draw a foul against AD or Bron. Expect it. I cannot stress this enough. If Giannis got his head on straight, he's trying to get us in foul trouble. So that's what I got to say, man. That's where my head is. Like I said, Bobby Portis must be accounted for. If he goes off at 30, you lose. So don't let it happen. Perimeter defense, man. That's everything. Perimeter defense tonight. And so that's what I got, man. That's where my head's at, man. Good luck to the Los Angeles Lakers, man. This road trip is a mess. They really did us no favors with this schedule, but we got a tough team. And if we show heart we'll get wins. If we play together, we'll get wins. But if we're rooting against one another, if we're engaging in the wrong energy, if it's all about LeBron James shooting the rock and catching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we will catch losses faster than we'll catch anything else. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.